Hey everybody, it's Lisa with Undermined Propaganda. Generation X trying to unlearn all the shit I've learned my whole life. A lot going on in the world today with the Iran war, deportations, the economy going to shit. And there's also new stuff out about artificial intelligence this week. Some reporting on how it is pretty much atrophying our brains, and how, which reports of hallucinations have been around for a little while, but there's even more reporting about how artificial intelligence hallucinates and what that exactly means. And the reason I'm talking about this today is my own personal experience the other day with my healthcare provider. I had a couple different appointments, and at each appointment I was handed a form, and the form was me legally allowing them, signing over rights to allow artificial intelligence to transcribe all my interactions with my healthcare provider. So we're moving forward quickly with AI and with little to no regulations, due largely in part because of the money contributed to our politicians. And the Trump administration has been absolutely horrendous on this, removing the few guardrails that were on artificial intelligence, because we are in a race now to be the first ones to have generative AI. Now, previous administrations, Biden wasn't really too much better on this either, but as with so many issues, the Trump administration has put this on steroids. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these reports that came out in the past few weeks. And one thing I want to go over real quick is, what is hallucination? What does that mean when artificial intelligence is hallucinating? I mean, is that detrimental? Is it really going to hurt us? Is it just kind of a bug in the system they need to work out? Let's go ahead and see what they say about it. Okay, here's an article by IBM explaining what are AI hallucinations. AI hallucination is a phenomenon where, in a large language model, LLM, often a generative AI chatbot or computer vision tool, perceives patterns or objects that are non-existent or imperceptible to human observers, creating outputs that are nonsensical or altogether inaccurate. So, just reading that statement right there is definitely cause for concern when you think about pretty much every domain that artificial intelligence is used in. And even taking my example of my interactions with my healthcare provider, if they are hallucinating, what this has been reported, it hasn't just happened a handful of times. This has happened numerous times in numerous different arenas. And if it's happening between you and your healthcare provider, then something that you say isn't put in the notes, or something that you don't say is, or the doctor says something, shares something with you, and then that isn't translated correctly, and it's completely inaccurate, or as this says, nonsensical. Generally, if a user makes a request of a generative AI tool, they desire an output that appropriately addresses the prompt, that is, a correct answer to a question. However, sometimes AI algorithms produce outputs that are not based on training data, are incorrectly decoded by the transformer, or do not follow an identifiable pattern. In other words, it hallucinates the response. And that's another thing too, is that when they're producing outputs, these outputs come from the inputs. So if whomever is inputting the information has a bias, then that bias gets inputted to that model, and then that's what's outputted. And as we know, the biases are prevalent, very much so here in America. And there's been many, many, many cases of biases against minorities, women, men, just all different groups, LGBTQ community, IA community, where there has been biases in how the medical community, doctors and nurses, and the system itself interacts with us with biases. And there has been a concerted effort to try to correct these issues. The problem is here, it's going to put these issues on steroids. Okay. Let's go on reading this article. The term may seem paradoxical, given that hallucinations are typically associated with human or animal brains, not machines. But from a metaphorical standpoint, hallucination accurately describes these outputs, especially in the case of image and pattern recognition, where outputs can be truly surreal in appearance. And let's look at some examples here of the implications. AI hallucination can have significant consequences for real-world implications. And this is one that applies to exactly what I was just talking about within the healthcare realm. For example, a healthcare AI model might incorrectly identify a benign skin lesion as malignant, leading to unnecessary medical interventions. AI hallucination problems can also contribute to the spread of misinformation. If, for instance, hallucinating news bots respond to queries about a developing emergency with information that hasn't been fact-checked, it can quickly spread falsehoods that undermine mitigation efforts. One significant source of hallucination in machine learning algorithms is input bias, what I was just talking about. That information going is the information coming out. So whatever biases the organization or the person or the group of people has that's inputting into these models is coming out the other end. And the people that are creating these models and the people in control and have the power of these models have an enormous motive to make sure that things come out in their favor, keep them in power, keep them wealthy, keep us under control. So that gives you an idea of maybe some of the direction that these AI models may be going. If an AI model is trained on a data set comprised of biased or unrepresentative data, it may hallucinate patterns or features that reflect these biases. So that gives you one idea there, and then, well, let's go ahead and read this other paragraph. AI models can also be vulnerable to adversarial attack, wherein bad actors manipulate the output of an AI model by subtly tweaking the input data. In image recognition tasks, for example, an adversarial attack might involve adding a small amount of specially crafted noise to an image, causing the AI to misclassify it. This can become a significant security concern, especially in sensitive areas such as cybersecurity and autonomous vehicle technologies. Yeah, these self-driving vehicles, something that could go off the rails. AI researchers are also constantly developing guardrails to protect AI tools against adversarial attacks. Techniques such as adversarial training, where the model is trained on a mixture of normal adversarial examples, are shoring up security issues. But in the meantime, vigilance in the training and fact-checking phase is paramount. So there are these small guardrails, but there's so much motive to move this stuff forward that we are literally, no pun intended, running over these guardrails. And there's also been many cases where these AI models incorrectly identified someone as being responsible for some crime in some situation, and then came back that it was completely wrong. And the people have been arrested and gone through all of that. So there's that as well. So this hallucination in these models, and then everywhere we're deploying them, is just, there's far too many chances for things to be catastrophic for an individual, for the entire society, for the entire way that our whole entire social contract catastrophic. And this is not the only issue. There's a new article that came out this week as well, that it is literally causing us to lose our capacity to critically think. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, here's a post on Twitter about a recent MIT study. Thank you to NavTour for the information. And the MIT study, they hooked people up to a brain scanner while they used ChatGPT. What they found should concern every single person reading this. Now, before I read any more, just to think about just how saturated our society now is by the use of AI. The use in colleges now you are in a minority if you are not using ChatGPT to write papers. High school is the same thing. Applications now, the majority of all applications are written by ChatGPT, and then artificial intelligence is actually reviewing these ChatGPT written applications. It's as though the human element is being completely taken out of the equation in so many arenas in our society. ChatGPT users showed 55% weaker brain connectivity than people who didn't use it. Not after years, after just 4 months. That is terrifying. 55% weaker brain connectivity, and it's just after 4 months. This isn't years of use. So this stuff is getting into our, for lack of a better word, psyche, and then literally taking away our ability, our brain's ability to connect. Here's how they tested it. 54 people were split into 3 groups. One used ChatGPT to write essays, one used Google, one used nothing but their own brains. They wore EEG monitors and tracked their brain activity in real time across 4 sessions over 4 months. The brain-only group built the strongest, most widespread neural connection networks. Google users were in the middle. ChatGPT users had the weakest brains in the room every time. And what this is revealing is, the real world implications of what a lot of the experts are talking about. And some of the whistleblowers have come out and talked about how artificial intelligence is going to devastate our economy by taking away all the jobs. It's already begun to devastate our civil liberties and our privacy and our ability to live as a free society. And now this stuff literally going into the individual's mind and taking away our ability to critically think and analyze. Terrifying. The brain-only group built the strongest, most widespread neural connections. Google users were in the middle. ChatGPT users had the weakest brains. I already read that. Then the memory test hit. Participants were asked to recall what they just written minutes earlier. 83% of ChatGPT users couldn't quote a single line from their own essay. They wrote it, they couldn't remember it. The words passed through them like they were never there. It's like taking away the ability to even retain information. Completely retain. Taking away the ability of the brain's ability to connect, taking away our ability to remember, making us like we're husks of a human that we've known to be. And this ability to take away memory and take away connectivity, it takes away our ability to evolve our beliefs and evolve as a human being when we're faced with contrary facts and contrary experiences that help shape our ability to become wise individuals as we age. And instead, this keeps you stuck in one mode with no memory and no connectivity. It gets worse. In the final session, ChatGPT users were told to write without AI. Their brains were measurably weaker than people who never used AI at all. 78% still couldn't recall their own writing. The damage didn't go away when the tool was removed. And here is a terrifying thing, if it were to hold true, that this is really what's going on, is that this doesn't go away. Once this artificial intelligence takes away one's ability to remember what they are supposed to be learning, and once the AI takes away the ability for the brain to have connectivity, then what happens if it doesn't come back? What are the implications of that? What kind of a society are we building there? Meanwhile, brain-only users who tried ChatGPT for the first time, their brains lit up. They wrote better prompts, they retained more. Their brains were already strong enough to use AI as a tool instead of a crutch. So if you're already built up and you've already read and you've already built your capacity of your brain to think on its own, to critically think and retain information on its own, ChatGPT in the beginning can help you expand and improve. The researchers also found that every ChatGPT essay on the same topic looked almost identical. More facts, more dates, more names, but less original thinking. Everyone using ChatGPT produced the same generic output while believing it was their own. MIT gave this a name, cognitive debt. Like financial debt, you borrow convenience now and pay with your thinking ability later, except there's no way to pay it back. The question isn't whether ChatGPT is useful, it's whether the price is your ability to think without it. And that is, what is the price we are willing to pay for this efficiency, which our capitalist society has been driven and continues to be driven on efficiency. Efficiency creates profit, makes the CEOs and the shareholders happy, and that is the goal. Everything else is an aside. And if artificial intelligence can create this efficiency, be damned whatever else happens in the process. And be damned even if it creates us and turns us into a husk of a human being. It's as though the robots are turning us into robots. Not the people at the top, but all of us guinea pigs that don't have the power. And those at the top have the power to create these models, which are seemingly not only taking away our civil rights and stripping away jobs and creating programs that kill innocent people in foreign countries, but also taking away our ability to think and question illegitimate authority and retain information once we've read it. This is definitely something we need to follow. Definitely something that we need to challenge, as with many things right now. There's just so much going on that all kinds of really important things get lost in the shuffle, so to speak. But I just wanted to go over that real quick and thank all of you, anybody that listened. And please, if you found anything valuable or of interest, please subscribe. It is free to subscribe. And I hope that you find peace this weekend. And I will talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.